Okay, let's start it. Let's start by saying basmalah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, children. Good morning. How are
Morning.
you this morning? Is everything fine?
Yeah. Everything's great
All right.
dis- despite the pandemic.
Alhamdulillah. Exactly. Yeah, despite the what is it? The bad news about the current country, especially. I do hope that everyone is in the best condition, yeah.
Amin.
And first of all, let's express our gratitude to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, everything to make us able to have this meeting today. And secondly, my prayers and greetings always be given to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And here it is, our first podcast by Cil Unisula. And today, the podcast is with Mr. Angga Permana and me, Miss Lia Sayesti.
Well,
Long
hello.
distance learning.
Oh, we have.
How effective is it?
We have viewers.
Yeah. You know that we have been in this situation. Yeah?
I'm going to admit the participant first.
What's wrong?
I'm going to admit the participant.
All right.
We have somebody joining. Okay.
Okay, let us continue. So welcome to Rinawati, I think. Okay, I hope that you can hear me, yeah, Miss Rinawati. Thank you for joining our podcast today. Okay, I will continue that. The topic for today's podcast is long distance learning. How effective is it? So we are going to share our experience, our opinions, our ideas about this main topic. You know that we have been in situation for almost 2 years now. We have been doing the process of learning in a long distance. Maybe this is easy, but there must be something that we have learned that we can share each other, and let us evaluate how effective it is. Okay, now we will start the discussion, and the discussion will be led by the host, Mr. Rangga Permana. Yes, Mr. Rangga.
Yes, thank you, Miss Leah. So, good morning for all the participants that joined in this discussions. Yeah. So, please note that you are very welcome to share your ideas during the whole sessions. So, you're uh, allowed to uh, activate your mic if you're willing, right? Turn on your mic, say something, because the main goals, yeah, for this podcast actually is a place for us to practice English. That's first, and then the second, sharing opinions, of course, because we've been in this situation like what Miss Lia said for almost 2 years, right? And then for that amount of time, we've been distancing ourselves from each other, and the most, what is it, the most common way of communicating uh, for a long distance like this is mostly by text. So for those of you maybe English learners, yeah, who wants to practice your speaking skills, then you have a very rare chance, because you always texting with others. You have no chance to speak, right? You cannot just like hang out with your friend in the cafe and try to practice English. You can't do that. So in this occasion, for those of you who have joined these sessions, then you are very welcome to speak. Well, let's get back to the topic about the long distance educations. First, maybe I would like to share my experience during this like year and a half, three semesters, 3 semesters teaching students from afar.
Yeah.
Well,
How does it feel?
yeah, how does it feel? I really miss classroom. I really miss classroom.
Oh, so do I.
I really miss the
What is the
classroom.
most thing you really miss?
Yeah, the interactions, jokes, what is it? Students' faces. Yeah, that's the thing that
Mm.
you cannot get from say Google Meet or Zoom meeting because most of the students they are closing their camera. They don't want to show themselves. That's at least what I've experienced. They don't want to show
Yeah.
themselves. They choose to close their camera, and that's why I feel like I'm talking to a blank black screen, just like a radio host, maybe things like that. On one side, it feels a bit boring, but on the other side, it also feels a bit more flexible in terms of place and time also because we can do it almost everywhere. We can do that almost from everywhere, from home, from the office, from everywhere. As long as there is an internet connection and electricity, it can be done. It can be done. But back to the question, how effective it is. Well, I don't know about the other lecturers who give long distance classes, but my own experience that some of the students they lack interactions. Yeah, they have no interactions with the lecturers, no intimacy between students and lecturer, and also lack of respect that I feel during the class because you haven't met that person face to face. Even some my students call me Kak because they never see me. Uh, and the title of our class is what is it? Tutorial, right? Tutorial, tutorial bahasa Inggris, tutorial
Yeah.
TOEFL. Some of them think that this is some kind of tutorial given by seniors, by their seniors. Because if I'm not mistaken, there is other kind of tutorial. Is it tutorial agama Islam or something like that? Yeah. It is given by seniors. So some of my students think that I'm their seniors. So they call me kakak. They call me kak. Well, on one side, I feel flattered, right? Some of them have seen my pictures right? See my
Uh-huh.
pictures. Uh-huh. And they still think that I'm their senior. They're calling me kakak. It's glad to be young.
Indeed.
Yeah. Then how about your class? How do you manage it?
Wait, I want to ask you a question first
Mm-hmm.
about respect. Yeah, you told us about respect.
Yeah, yeah.
Calling you kakak or bro,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't that show respect
No, no, no. Actually,
or
I mean,
the
lack
way
of
they behave
respect.
in the classroom?
Yeah. It's not about calling me kakak or think that I'm their seniors, but their attitude during the class. It's more about that. Yeah. Many
Mm.
times, yeah. Many times, I try to engage with the students. I try to, uh, what is it? Ask them to be more enthusiastic, to be more
Mhm.
interactive during the class. But instead, some of them just making excuse first. They make excuse. They do not want to turn on the cameras because of the connection, blah blah blah. Or even sometimes I try to what is it? Give questions to the students, and they ended up leaving the meeting. They end up leave the meeting, right?
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
They
Some funny experience.
cannot do that in the classroom, right? That's the difference.
Yeah. If you're in a real life classroom, you have no excuse. You cannot just escape and run away from the classroom just because you get a question. Yeah. One of the funny
I see.
experience that I have is that one of my students probably accidentally turned on her camera, right? And she's, I don't know, maybe doing a facial treatment by applying a mask on his face. Not that health mask, but that cosmetic mask. So she accident.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, probably she was using a cell phone. She was using a cell phone, accidentally turned on the camera, right, while lying on the bed with a pillow,
Mm-hmm.
without wearing any proper clothing.
Clothes. Okay.
Yes, and then wearing a face mask,
Oh
wearing
my
a
God, you
cosmetic mask.
experienced that one?
Yes,
Oh.
yeah. Although it's only happened for a few seconds, but still, it gave me what is it? An insight of the condition of my students during my class.
Mhm.
Oh, so that what happened.
When you explain something, when you were explaining.
Yeah, that what happened.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, I know that I can understand their situation. A house is not a classroom. Their home is not a classroom. Even though it's called study from home, work from home, still it's a different thing. Uh, a house cannot replace a campus or office. It's two different things because some of my students also, I don't know whether they are making excuse or it really happened to them. Like, I'm sorry, sir. My mother asked me to buy this, blah 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 blah. That's why I am late. Or while they are asking, while they are turning on their mic, when I try to um, give them a questions, sometimes like I can hear their mom ask them to do something, blah blah blah. Yeah, because maybe some of the family members think that if you're not in the campus or at the campus, that means you're having a holiday, means you have nothing to do. But actually, they're having a class, right? Yeah, that's why I really miss classroom because of that. It's irreplaceable. It's yeah, it's irreplaceable for me. The interactions, the settings, because the mindset will be different. The mindset will be different. Once you are in the classroom, then your mind at least will be ready to learn because you are in the classroom and that particular place is designated used for studying. It's different from home, right?
Mhm.
Where anything could happen, anything could happen because it's not fully um, what is it, prepared to be a place for studying.
Mhm.
It is a place for so many activities,
Yeah.
and you're there with all of your family members. They have different things to do. Yeah, we cannot be selfish by asking them to stop doing anything they're doing, so that it will not make any, so that they will make no, they will not make any kind of noise or will not disturb you. If your house is big, probably that's possible. Or maybe you have a second or third floor where you can be there alone. But yeah, people have conditions. People have their
Yeah.
conditions.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Mhm. I think this is also because we didn't get used to have a home-based activity for studying and working. I
Hmm.
think the situation is so different. It's
Hmm.
different with students who already have the habits for homeschooling, yeah, but our students don't.
Yeah.
We don't have the experience for being what is it like teachers for homeschooling students. I mean, for the long distance. So
Mhm.
are still adapting. Yeah, in my opinion, we are still adapting. Even for more than 1 year, it still feels like uh, we still don't get used doing that. Yeah, but somehow there are also good good sides, yeah, that we can take part in the effort of trying to reduce the rising number of the pandemic patients. Yeah,
Yes.
at least that's what all we can do.
Hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
because everything happened so suddenly, and then we're not prepared for it. And then we have to do everything learning by doing. Learning by doing. Even something like Zoom, like Google Meet, something that we have never ever tried before. We are learning by doing. We never have any experience of training, yeah, to use this kind of
Yeah.
software. We just
Hmm.
use it.
Yeah. I still remember how awkward I was using Google
Yeah,
Meet,
yeah.
Google Classroom, and Zoom for the first time. I was just like, oh, what is it? What is it? I just have to learn.
Hmm. There's so many things that we need to learn on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
Google. classroom, Google Forms, making questions for the students
Yeah.
that they have to answer online, things like that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I never imagined that this will be this long. I thought that 1 year for maximum, but in fact, this lasts for almost 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty long. I mean, yeah, I feel sorry for the students actually. They have only just couple of months experiencing the campus life, right? That is totally different from their high school experience. It's a campus life. It's a different thing. But then after this, what, second semester, I guess, then they have to go back home to do
Yeah.
everything from home. Yeah, and then it is also hard, probably for their parents to understand that even if your son or your daughter's at home, they are actually still having a class from morning till the afternoon. I mean, they're um not having a holiday. They're not having a holiday. It is not a 1.5 year holiday. No,
Yeah, that's right.
we are still having a class. We have a lot of activities to do, and um what is it? Everything just happens like the same. I mean, before the pandemic, but just in a different place. That's the thing that maybe people need to understand. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's not only happens to uh, the students, but also the lecturers, right? It's also from the perspective of the lecturers. It, I think it is even more complicated situation for the lecturers because, well, most of them already have a families, they have kids, right? And then, well, asking kids to understand their parents' situations is a hard thing rather than ask a child asking their parents to understand, right?
You can feel it now as you now become a parent.
Yeah, yeah.
Even your baby still cannot complain, yeah? Do you imagine when your kids are able to speak and complain that their parents must work at home? Are
Yeah,
you working? You are at home.
yeah, yeah.
And this is
Their
not easy to
perspective is
explain to them.
if daddy or mommy is at home, means they are not working. If they are not
Yeah.
working, means I can play with them.
Uh-huh. And they can ask anything at any time. Yeah. Yeah, it's a big challenge for us as a what is it, as an instructors as well. Because teaching at home, uh, I'm I'm the one who feels grateful, yeah, who feels grateful that I can spend more time with my kids at home. In
Mhm.
other side, in another side, I also feel that this is not easy. This is sometimes it's really hard when we are in a Zoom meeting in our classrooms, and then suddenly the kid something, and it cannot be what is it? And they cannot wait. We
Yeah.
cannot explain them
Yes.
to wait and also to understand our position.
Yes.
That's sometimes hard,
Yes.
but we can make it forever.
The hardest thing that we can ask for from our child is patience. That's really hard.
Can I ask you?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Uh, can you repeat what you just said? Because I can't hear you clearly.
Okay, I think our
Yeah.
connection is not stable.
Mhm.
Okay, can I ask you one more question?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. Well, I do believe that put on the process of something really affect the result.
Mhm.
I do believe opinion. Uh, in this case, evaluate during the I mean from the how the students behave and how challenging it is for us to have the learning process run smoothly.
Mhm.
Uh, Now let's talk about the result. Let's talk about the result. How
The
do you
result.
evaluate the result of the long distance learning in your classes?
Um, the result. Okay. Um, First and foremost, I think it is hard to compare between the long distance class with the face to face class because um I don't know. I just feel that it's not fair. Yeah, it's not fair. Due to the so many limitations that we have during the online class, right? Situation where sometimes the students have a lack of attention during meeting in the classroom, and now we have a long distance class where sometimes you feel like the what is it the lecturer have no power over you because he or she is not in front of you, is
Mm,
somewhere away, right? he, he or she has no control over your behaviors, right? So they feel less and less needs to pay attention. Even when we try to say that, what is it? Your score will be taken from the test, and then you should prepare well, even though we only have an online class. You need to study a lot by yourself, blah blah blah. In the end, they'll just say, "Yes, sir," and
mm.
also it's quite
Whether
hard
they really
to,
understand or not.
yeah, it's quite hard to, what is it, see the process, I mean the progress of each of the students, yeah, because, well, I'm part of the probably a classic educators when how do I assess the students is mostly by looking at the interactions between me and them, how do they respond. I can see there's a progress there. But during this what is it long distance classes, it's hard for me to, what is it, to monitor their progress. Even though we have given some exercises that they should do, still, we cannot guarantee that the answer is 100% done or given by themselves. Probably they get it from somewhere or from their friends. In the end, that what we can do is just what's it, having a husnudon, right?
Mm.
That they are doing it by themselves, and if the exercise is good, it means they understand what we have given to them. About
Yeah.
about the final result of the class, I think it's little bit better. I don't know. This is some kind of anomaly, but it is their score is even better than the offline test. Yeah, it's better than the offline test because during the test,
Is it so? David?
yeah, during the test, I was an administrator during the test like a week ago. I was an administrator, so I can directly see the score, right? And then there are so many students that get high scores, high scores. But the gap between the highest and the lowest is very far. It shows that the students' way in receiving or understanding the lesson is very varied. It's a very different from one another. We cannot control it as in in a classroom where when we are in a classroom, although it's not 100% similar, but at least we can control um, the students' understanding. We can monitor the progress of each of the students. We can see um, which students have the lowest understanding, which students is uh, really understand the lesson, and the gap between the lowest and the highest will not be that far. But during these online classes, the result of their test, the gap is very far. That's from what I've seen. Probably there is some technical issues. Maybe it's also part of it because the device from each of the students are different, right? Their situation, their connection, their surroundings, yeah, it's not homogeneous. It's
Yeah.
very different from one another. That's also probably the cause of the gap between the highest and the lowest score of the students.
Yeah, I think so. Well, according to my opinion, the result of the wait a moment.
Yeah. Hmm. So, how's the result of your class?
Okay, I will continue. That was the real factor that happens when I'm still on the teaching in Zoom. Sometimes the kids are interrupting.
Yeah.
Okay, I do believe that the results of the learning process in online classes uh, are affected by what the day-to-day learning process.
Hmm.
In my classes, mostly not all students join the Zoom meeting.
Okay.
It reflects the amount of effort they put in the learning process. Right? So some choose to be actively involved in the Zoom meeting, but the rest chose to be inactive. And secondly, I do signals are very essential in long distance learning or long distance tests. That's the second things that affect the different result of the students. And next is about the ability of each students to comprehend the material. Of course, we cannot general students can absorb our explanation, can absorb the today's learning target at the same percentage, right? Some can absorb 80% maybe, but the other maybe can reach more than 50%. And I see that the result, I mean, like the student who is actively join the Zoom meeting, the student who is actively involved in the class activities, and do the exercises that we give, they usually pass the post test.
Mhm.
Not all, but mostly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Majority. I talk about the majority.
Mhm. But how about the gap? How about the gap? The score between the highest and the lowest in your class.
Pardon me?
What about the gap? The gap. I mean, the gap between the highest score and the lowest score. Is it far, or it is mostly similar?
In average, mostly similar. In average, mostly similar.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
in some places, the highest score was far away from the lowest score. And I
Uh,
noticed that the ones who get the very low scores are those who rarely join the Zoom meeting or maybe never, only for the first or the second meeting, and after that uh, they just what is it uh, signs the attendance and
mhm.
then they leave the classes. Maybe they didn't do any effort. So uh, I don't think they have idea. They had idea to do the post test.
Yeah, and also, yeah. Uh, does the student, does the, I
Some
mean,
names, some
yeah.
names that were not really active in the classroom. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
They got high scores. They
I
got
see.
high scores more than I expect. Mhm.
Yeah,
So
that means there
I
are
can
some
conclude that
external
some
factor
students
then.
have different. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Hmm. So, I think that this is what I dislike from long distance education, where uh, the student situation really affect the result of their learning. I mean, if it is an online class, then at least they have similar treatment. I mean, all of the students get similar treatment. They are in the same class, looking at the same whiteboard, looking at the same projectors, maybe listening to the same with the same volume uh, of the lecturer speaking. But in the long distance learning, then their situation it's not just their motivation, their situation also really affect the result. Maybe they are motivated, but they have some limitation. Probably they live in a place where the internet connection is
Mhm.
quite difficult, and so even though they are they really want to learn. Sometimes they have a difficulty in joining the Zoom meeting or the Google Meet meeting. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's also happened during tests. I think last semester, I guess, where the students have to go to Balai Desa just to get stable
Signal.
internet connection
Mm-hmm.
or other public places. Because um, when I observed the when I was observing the test, I can see some of the students they are in a cafe. They are in a cafe
Mm-hmm.
having stable internet connections, while others they are in a I don't know whether it is a boarding house or maybe a pesantren, and then they are
Yeah.
sitting together in a hall
It was
where,
actually an effort that we have to appreciate. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's why what I said about the external factors, we don't know the difficulties that they need to overcome in order to study.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And sometimes that also become my was it dilemma where about scoring. Sometimes I feel
Yeah.
like it is unfair, because we exclude any external factors. Yeah, especially in our class because we only rely on the test score. Maybe in some other classes, other lectures with different courses, maybe they have some considerations about their students' condition, maybe. But what happened in our classes is that we are only relying on the test score, and sometimes that makes me feel what is it uncomfortable because I know some of them have difficulties. Yeah, they have their situation, and me as an educator, sometimes I feel that it is unfair for maybe that students or these students to get only uh, low score or have a bad performance due to their circumstances.
Yeah. But on the contrary, this is also hard to give additional score due to the external factors
Yeah.
when there is no standard.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
is all
Mhm.
subjective, right?
Yes. Yes. It's very subjective.
Okay, well, we are about at the end of our podcast today, Mr. Rangga.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful that our show for today is running quite well.
Yeah, can run almost an hour.
Yeah, almost an hour.
Okay, if I may conclude for our today's talk entitled Long Distance Learning, How Effective Is It? There are 2 points that I would like to note. The first one is compare to the offline classroom. We do have less control to our
Hmm.
students, yeah, including behavior, including the motivation, their expression, yeah, their face expression, whether they have understood or not yet. We just cannot monitor if the learning process is held by Zoom or any other medias.
Yes.
And the second point is that students may face the external factors like bad connection, like home situation that also affect their learning process. And of course, it also gives impact in the result, yeah, in the
Yes.
score. for the test. Yeah, I think the value is that we have to be more tolerant. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. And also, I think that um, the government, I think, also needs to create some kind of standard. Create some kind of standard um, for students. Yeah, not only on the campus or college level, but on the lower level also, to create a standardized long distance um, educations for the students. Hopefully, this situation will not be prolonged, so that
Amen.
yeah, everyone will be able to go back to their routine, and then we can have face-to-face interaction again.
Yeah, we do all hope so. Yeah. While waiting for the condition to be better, let's uh, let's do 3M. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's to keep our body health and stay doing healthy habits. Thank you very much, Mr. Rangga and Miss Anita, for joining the podcast today.
you're
And
very
as the main
welcome.
host, very much, Mr. Rangga, yeah.
Yeah,
I hope that this benefits all of us for uh, the host and also for the viewers or participants.
amen.
Let's close this meeting by saying Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahirobbil
Amin.
alamin. We'll see you in the next podcast, Insyaallah, Chiladers.
Mm.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.